Hi, this is Christa with artisticvegan.com and welcome to my kitchen and another Artistic Vegan show. Today we are going to be making homemade pasta dough from scratch and then turning that into pumpkin sage ravioli with a creamy sauce on top. This is going to be really delicious and it's a crowd pleaser. We'll start by making the dough. For the dough, I'm going to do 2 different varieties, so you can have one with gluten or one gluten-free, one oil-free or one with oil. Either way, you only need a few ingredients. For the first variety, we're going to do a whole wheat variety. So I have 2 cups of whole wheat flour with 3/4 cups of corn flour and 1 teaspoon of salt, as well as my vegan egg mixture. You'll want 3 for ours. I'm going to do a psyllium egg. I'm going to mix that together now so it can congeal. Another 1/4 cup of water and 1 tablespoon of olive oil. So this is the first variety. Then over here we have a gluten-free variety. This is 2 cups of the gluten-free flour featured on my blog, 3/4 cups of corn flour, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Then we have our vegan egg mixture that I'm going to mix together. It's the same amount, as well as the 1/4 cup of water, and instead of the oil, 1 tablespoon of pumpkin puree, since we're making a pumpkin sage ravioli. You can either add everything to a food processor and let it do the work for you. That's by far the easiest method, or you can do this by hand. I'll show you how to do it by hand in case you don't have one. So I'm going to whisk together the dry ingredients. Add your congealed egg mixture, as well as for the gluten-free, oil-free, we'll add the 1 tablespoon of pumpkin puree and then 1 tablespoon of olive oil to the wheat variety. And start mixing that together until it starts forming, and then you'll want to stream in the water a little bit at a time. Pop it in the fridge for 30 minutes. The next thing you'll want to do is make your filling. I have 1 cup of pumpkin puree, and you can use 100% pure pumpkin puree that you buy in a can, or you can make your own by roasting it, which is what I did. To that, you'll want 1/3 cup of onions that have been sauteed in a little water or vegetable broth, half a head of roasted garlic, 1 tablespoon of fresh parsley, and you can give it a little dice just to help out the food processor. Salt, pepper, and sage. Give that a mix in the food processor until it's nice and smooth and creamy. And then I have the exact same mixture over here. I've only replaced the pumpkin with some boiled potatoes. I have 1 cup of that. You could also use a cup of sweet potatoes or whatever you want there. My dough's been in the fridge for 30 minutes and my filling's made. So now we can roll it out and make our ravioli. You can use semolina, or I have just some corn flour. I'm going to spread this out. Give it just a tiny sprinkle on top. Kind of press it out a little. And then you'll want to cut this into 8 pieces. You can take this dough and put it in your fridge, keep it wrapped and roll it out for a few more days. Or you can roll it out into the raviolis and place it on a baking sheet that's lined with parchment and dusted with a little bit more of the flour. Pop it in the freezer. Once they're firm, you can put it in a baggie or whatever you prefer there and keep them in the freezer, and then pull them out and have fresh homemade ravioli whenever you want. So I'll surely be doing that myself. Preferably with a pasta machine, you'll want to take your dough and shape it into a little rectangle and put it through your pasta machine starting at the highest setting and working it down to the very lowest setting until you're left with a very nice thin dough, but not too thin that it's going to break apart. Or you can do this with a rolling pin and roll it out like that. It'll just take a little bit longer and be a little bit more challenging, but that's okay. I'll show you how to do it. Give it a roll, give it a flip, And continue. See how wonderful that is to work with? It's nice and thin and still holding up very well. I'll set that one aside and repeat with another square until I'm left with 2, and we'll proceed to stuff it. You can see here our dough has been rolled very nice and thin, and now all you have to do is fill it up with about a tablespoon or so of the mixture. I'm going to take your paintbrush and some water and then apply it to the edges, and this will act as a seal. And then carefully apply the top. And you want to press around every single one to make sure there's no air bubbles. And then you can use a pastry cutter, a cookie cutter, a ravioli cutter, whatever you would like, or you can just take your knife and cut them into little squares, which is what I'm going to do. Once your raviolis are all prepared and filled and they look lovely, then you can leave them to air dry for about 20 minutes or proceed to freeze them, whatever you're gonna do. And while they're drying, you can bring a pot of water, a big pot of water with salt in it, to a boil. Once that's boiling, pop them in there, and then they should float within about 1 to 2 minutes. It's really fast. So you wanna have your sauce ready. So you can use any sauce that you want. A tomato sauce would be lovely. We're gonna make a creamy, delicious sauce that's a white, creamy sage sauce. I think you're really gonna love it. You're gonna need 2 cups of dairy-free milk, and by all means you can make half of this recipe. I'm kind of doing a double batch since we have so much ravioli going around here. So I have 2 cups of dairy-free milk, 2 cups of potatoes that have been boiled until they're very soft, 2 to 3 cloves of roasted garlic, a half cup of cashews that have been soaked until soft, and then some salt, pepper, sage, parsley. And that is everything you will need, my friends. Blend this until it's nice and smooth, and then once you're ready, you can get it nice and hot and set it aside and serve it on top. We've made it to the end of our show. We have homemade ravioli. You cannot beat homemade ravioli or homemade food of any kind. This is the whole wheat variety. Amazing. If you've never made pasta, it's a fun thing to do. It's obviously kind of more of a special occasion, but it could be something you do all the time. I mean, you never know. And then here is the gluten-free variety. Both kinds are great. You're gonna love this recipe. Go to artisticvegan.com to get the recipe. Thank you for spending your time with me today, and I hope you tune in next time. Bye.